Said to me, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, is it hard? They said, yes. I said, well, I'm a very smart person.
No, that's other people that do that. I don't. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
Donald Trump's repeated IQ boast was designed to sound like a final word, a victory lap delivered with absolute confidence. Speaking into the microphone, he leaned into his familiar style, praising his great brain, perfect instincts, and intelligence he claimed critics could never fully comprehend. He referenced tests, schools, opponents, and so-called low IQ rivals as though repetition alone could transform assertion into proof. The audience had heard the routine many times before, but Jimmy Kimmel chose not to respond with louder insults or direct confrontation. Instead, he paused, smiled, and delivered a single line that subtly flipped the entire narrative. If your IQ is so high, Kimmel said, why does every answer need a detour? The studio erupted in laughter, but the remark carried more weight than a punchline. It wasn't an insult about intelligence. It was a critique of behavior. A truly sharp mind, he implied, responds directly. A confident leader can accept correction without treating it as hostility. Real security doesn't require constant self-promotion. That moment marked the turning point. Kimmel then introduced what he framed not as a medical test or hidden score, but as a public examination based entirely on observable behavior. I've done something no other president has done, Trump claimed. I took cognitive tests because I know, and they weren't easy. Not easy. Kimmel responded by reframing the idea entirely. So tell us about the questions you answered, he said. Can the subject respond to a simple policy question without shifting into ratings, crowd sizes, television hosts, windmills, old grievances, or figures who criticized him years ago? The audience laughed. The pattern felt instantly recognizable. Question 2.
I'm not sure being asked to take 3 cognitive exams is quite the flex he thinks it is.
I did something no other president's ever done. I took cognitive tests because I know that, and by the way, not easy.
Not easy. Oh, well, tell us about the questions you answered.
Can the subject acknowledge a mistake without redirecting blame toward the press, courts, political opponents, or unseen forces? Question 3. Can the subject listen to experts without deciding their credibility depends entirely on agreement? With each example, the original IQ boast began to feel less like strength and more like a shield against scrutiny. That was the first visible crack in the narrative. Kimmel then grounded the point in everyday reality. He asked what an IQ score actually does for families struggling with rent, seniors facing rising medication costs, teachers buying supplies out of pocket, veterans waiting for care, or small business owners trying to survive financial uncertainty. A number, he suggested, doesn't lower prices, resolve crises, or replace judgment. For many viewers, especially older audiences, the message landed clearly. They had seen similar personalities before, loud, confident figures who confuse certainty with intelligence.
Cognitive exams, and I asked her to administer one to me. This is the official exam administered by a medical professional. I did not see the questions ahead of time, and I'm willing to release the full unedited version if necessary. But with that said, let's find out just how difficult this big, beautiful test is and how my brain stacks up against our stable genius president.
Experience had taught them that wisdom is often quiet, patient, and willing to listen rather than dominate. Real intelligence doesn't always announce itself. It shows itself in restraint. Kimmel's most effective move was refusing to reduce the discussion to a number. Instead, he reframed the entire conversation. We don't need a president winning imaginary IQ contests, he said in essence. We need someone who can stay focused when people are afraid, tell the truth when it's inconvenient, and make decisions that actually help people who will never step on a stage. Intelligence, he argued, is not something proven through slogans or self-promotion. It is revealed after applause fades and real decisions are made. At that point, the imagined reactions from Trump only strengthened the argument. Any response seemed to reinforce the critique. Attacking the host would validate the joke. Mocking ratings would confirm attention. Repeating the IQ claim would dilute it further. And changing the subject would highlight avoidance. Every path led back to the same question: why does a genius need so much validation? The audience began to recognize the reversal unfolding in front of them. Kimmel contrasted usefulness with performance, focus with distraction, and humility with constant self-crowning. The room shifted from laughter at a person to laughter at a pattern. Then came the line sign that sealed the moment. Real intelligence doesn't need to call everyone else dumb just to feel tall. The studio fell silent for a beat before erupting again. That pause mattered. It marked the moment humor turned into judgment. By the end, the original boast no longer carried the weight it was meant to. It sounded rehearsed, overstated, and detached from evidence. Kimmel didn't need hidden documents or secret scores, only publicly visible behavior, repeated patterns, and predictable reactions. That is why the segment resonated. The claim of intelligence was not defeated by argument, but by contrast. And under the studio lights, the loudest declaration was measured against the quietest standard: composure, honesty, and consistency.